points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show starts now.
Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. For all those joining us live this evening at Boston Pizza on Taylor Avenue, as well as live on our YouTube channel, we welcome you to the Illegal Curve post-game show, Game 1 of 82, as the 23-24 Winnipeg Jets season is underway. Training camp officially behind us. The regular season has begun. With Dave Minuk, with Ezra Ginsburg, and so many of our friends live here at Boston Pizza tonight, we welcome you to the Illegal Game show, where the Winnipeg Jets have just dropped a 5-3 decision to the Calgary Flames. The Jets getting a little taste of their own medicine, I would say, gentlemen, in that you could say that Markstrom did a very good Hellebuckian impersonation, as if it was not for exceptional play from the Flames netminder, this would have been a one-sided victory for the Winnipeg Jets. Alas, Markstrom was that good, reminiscent of how he was a couple of years ago in Calgary, and the Jets were unable to crawl all the way back for a fourth time in tonight's game, and as a result, they lose by that 5-3 margin. Nice to see both of you on this Wednesday evening. Another season of the Winnipeg Jets, another season of the Illegal Curve post-game show. No one else I'd rather be doing it with than you fine gentlemen.
Ditto, Drew. It's great to be here at Boston Pizza Taylor. We've had a lot of fun tonight. We got Spency, we got Joe from Winnipeg, we got producer Timmy, of course, Colby snapping picks. Unfortunate result, obviously, and you mentioned how one-sided this was analytically and from a Sharks perspective, right? Yeah. And it's so demoralizing when Scheifele scores that beautiful goal, and then obviously the late goal is the killer. The empty net goal is not really worth mentioning, but yeah, I mean, this was a really impressive game. And from our perspective, the Jets' perspective here in Winnipeg, we're talking about could the Jets get the bump from the Scheifele and Hellebuck contracts. But from the Flames' perspective, boys, last year we all know was disappointing, specifically when it came to Jacob Markstrom in net, right, Dave?
Yeah.
But I mean, they wanted to start off the season, obviously, with a win here in front of their home crowd. But they wanted to also prove, they wanted to start off on the right foot with last year being such a disappointment. So, I mean, the Flames, they didn't obviously play, I think, they didn't like how many grade A opportunities they gave the Jets, but, they found a way to win. Andrew Mangiapane was incredible tonight, obviously. But yeah, I mean, the difference in this game was Jacob Markstrom. There's no doubt about it. I think Gabe Vilardi ended up with 8 or 9 shots on the night, right? So the Scheifele-Connor-Vilardi line was by far the best line in this game, but I mean, all it takes is, it looked like that shorthanded goal was going to stand up, right, by Rasmus Andersson, but, give the Jets credit for clawing back. But yeah, there's no doubt that, this is a game in which the Jets could have easily won the game, but look, you forget Markstrom was a top 10 goalie in the NHL a couple of years ago, so he has that ability, even though last year he'd like to flush that season down the toilet for sure.
Yeah, there's no question about it. I think the similarities between the Jets and the Flames coming into the season are incredible. As Spency is, hang on, I just got to point out here, what you're seeing on your screen is Spency is holding up his phone that it's got the fire in the background, so that Dave feels as though he is at home.
Like I'm at home right now.
It's beautiful.
So nice.
This is a team effort. We got Spency here doing his part. So many of our IC friends and family are here for tonight's live on location edition of the Illegal Curve post-game show. Dave, if you can reduce the chuckling to a minimum as Spency is, is doing his yeoman's work over there. That's a great job right there.
That was great. I don't know, I as someone who's been holding a camera a little bit, your shoulder starts to hurt after a bit of time. So I don't know if Spency could have lasted the entirety of this post-game show doing that, but I do appreciate him making me feel like I'm at home with the Flames above my head, especially considering the Jets were playing the Flames. A lot of symbolism there, but look, I mean, this is an unfortunate loss for the Winnipeg Jets. And, as he said, the empty net goal didn't count, didn't matter much It may matter if Nikolai Ehlers is injured. I mean, that was a pretty needless play by him. I mean, at that point, the game is over. There's 6 seconds to go in the game. I mean, obviously you don't want to see guys quitting, but you also have to be smart. You're coming off of dealing with neck spasms the entirety of the training camp. So, I mean, that could end up being costlier than losing by 2 as opposed to by 1. But look, as he was right, the Jets dominated that game. And you thought, based on that first goal by Markstrom that he gave up to Kyle Connor, that it was going to be a difficult night for a goalie who's really looking to bounce back and who needs to bounce back. And he did. And as he's right, he really did manage to show that he is a, in theory, world-class goaltender from all those years in Vancouver that we saw him, and we expected him to continue that in Calgary when he signed the big deal with the Flames. So we'll see, but I agree, Mangiapane was excellent for Calgary. But overall, I mean, I think it was still a good Jets game. For, in certain instances, there's some lapses that you're not going to want to see.
Well, I think, to your point there, I mean, I think what everyone wanted to see coming into tonight's game is sort of what the new look forward lines would be for the Jets, and how the forward lines would produce when you really, for the first time in many years, this Winnipeg Jets team has 4 forward lines that they can roll. And I think for the most part, when it comes to those the forward group, people are probably, very intrigued by what they saw. The Jets we know coming into this year, on paper at least, the Jets have better depth than we're used to seeing as of late. And you sort of saw that throughout the course of tonight's game, in that they controlled a lot of the play. Their forward group was impressive, and it wasn't just sort of one line, it was line after line after line. So from the forward perspective, you have to be really intrigued by the Winnipeg Jets, and I think that's certainly a positive. But at the same time, the big question mark and the big concern has to do with the defense. And I don't think anything you saw tonight from a defensive perspective leaves you feeling any better about the Winnipeg Jets defense, Ezzy.
Yeah, and I mean, we mentioned the shorthanded goal by Rasmus Andersson, right? Like, clearly, that wasn't the Jets' best defensive coverage. Even though Drew and I were talking about it, during the third period, like, Mark Scheifele was hustling to get back. So nobody's going to fault Scheifele on that goal. And then it was Kyle Connor and Alex Iafallo, I believe, right, that were a little bit in no man's land there. But yeah, I mean, you're right, Drew. I mean, this was not the Flames' A game. The Jets brought it tonight. They put a lot of rubber on Jacob Markstrom, and Hellebuck was good, like in limited. What did they have, 20 shots or something like that, right? But you're absolutely right, Drew. I mean, for the most part, Rick Bowness was rolling 4 lines. I think Morgan Barron, if I'm not mistaken. I've got it here. I think he was the lowest in ice time, just under 9 minutes, right?
8:48 for Morgan Barron. He was the lowest of all.
And obviously, there was a lot of power
Jets.
plays that factor in with that as well, right? But yeah, I think we're expecting the fourth line to be more in the kind of 12 to 15 minute range this year, as opposed to if you go back to the Saku Manalainens, or if you even want to go back a couple of years to like Nate Thompson and those types of players, right? Only getting 6, 7, 8 minutes a night. Right. That's what you want when you have guys like Morgan Barron and Vlad Nemesnikov out there, right? And I didn't think that fourth line really had a big impact on the game. And we got to talk about Nick Ehlers. Dave mentioned, on the empty net goal by Mangiapane, Ehlers, goes awkwardly into the boards there, trying to stop the empty net goal. But I thought he, for a guy who didn't play any preseason games,
he had some jump at times.
I thought he was, that was not Dave, grade A Nick Ehlers.
No.
Like, that wasn't the best game we've seen from Nick Ehlers. I don't think anybody was expecting Nick Ehlers to necessarily be the best player on the ice. But I think that, you can see that the skill is on display with Perfetti, and you can still see the skill is on display with Niederreiter. Like, that line, I think, is going to be fine this year. But yeah, for a first game, I mean, look, I didn't really have any expectations, boys, going into this game, right? Like, considering that, the Jets were, not really sure what they were going to get out of Ehlers. And, the first period was dominated by the Jets. And really, it's a couple of miscues and, falling asleep a little bit on the Rasmus Andersson shorthanded goal. And, the Flames were opportunistic. They took advantage of their opportunities. They didn't have nearly as many as the Jets. So I think you have to be pretty happy with, game one of the season. You don't end up getting any points, but you definitely have to be happy with the effort.
Yeah, and I just want a big shout out from Dylan, who donated $30 to the boys. So said he wished he could be here. Glad you're back. The new guys all look good tonight, just as well as you boys. Beers on me. Thank you, Dylan. We very much appreciate that. And
as he come back, where are you running?
But I think
Stole $30 worth of beer and is sprinting to the car.
Look, it's a tough game for some of the players, and we talked about it a little bit. We touched on it, and you didn't know what to expect from Nikolai Ehlers, Ezzy. You're right, because throughout the course of this training camp, I think in consecutive days, maybe twice we've seen him in consecutive days in terms of skating, so maybe a little bit more, but it hasn't been significant. He didn't really get a chance to develop that chemistry with Cole Perfetti and Nino Niederreiter. Obviously smart guys, but you want to have a little time to get that, and they really didn't get those reps in throughout the course of training camp that the Velarde, Connor, and Scheifele line did, or the Lowry line did, or even the Kupari line did. So I think there's definitely some things to like from this Jets club, that you saw, because for the most part, they played well. Look,
if they play like they played tonight, more often than not, they're likely going to be victorious.
Right. That's right. And go ahead, Drew.
There's still areas of concern. I mean, there's no, areas of concern don't disappear after the first game. Even if there was a great first game, there'd still be areas of concern. And those areas are the same ones that everyone knew about entering the year. The defense and, the play of some guys who need a bounce back year. And if they don't have a bounce back year, Schmidt and Pionk, who were, weaker guys last year, if they don't bounce back this year, where does this leave this Winnipeg Jets team? And that question, I think, is still a big one that's going to be, probably reverberating for a number of weeks and months throughout the course of the season. It's not going to end anytime soon. You're right in Bones with trust. Who we trust. Who cares about the game? Look at my Drew stash.
Look at those handlebars.
I agree. Exactly right. As I said, enjoy this mustache tonight, because my wife comes back to town tomorrow and she's threatened to divorce me if this is still on my face in the current manner. But
I like it, Drew. I think you got to keep it going. I'm a fan. Don't listen to the haters, man.
Well, I'll tell you what. There are two opinions on this. Every man that I run into and sees it is like giving me like a salute. They're saying, "That's awesome. You got to keep it going." And then I was away this weekend, as you guys know. It was in Atlanta, and it was actively repelling women away from me, more so than it usually does. More so than
Were you approaching strange women in
I was not,
foreign
but
cities, Drew?
I was not, but we were out and enjoying ourselves, and some of the ladies would come up and they would look at us and they would just say, "What is on that guy's face?" and just try and get the hell out of there as quickly as possible.
I see After Dark. Who knew? The secrets are coming out.
Yes, thank you. No. Nothing along those lines at all. Just the backstory to the mustache,
Fair enough.
if you wanted. Why don't we get into it, guys? Because we are now into IC After Dark After Midnight here on the first game of 82. We always do this each and every game. It's, of course, the Betway game recap.
The Betway game recap.
Big thanks to our friends at Betway, one of the most trusted voices in sports betting, both in Canada and all around the world. Betway is the sports betting app that puts you, the customer, at the forefront with a large selection of betting options in sports, as well as strong promotions and fair odds. What are you waiting for? Head on over to Betway and bet your way. Must be 19 years or older to play. Please play responsibly. The Calgary Flames open the scoring in tonight's game. Andrew Mangiapane, who we talked about, was a force for the Flames tonight. He opens the scoring on the power play at the 12:29 mark of the first period. He gets his first of the year, obviously the first goal of the season for the Flames. It has to be Mangiapane's first goal as well. Assist to Ruzicka and Hanifin coming on the power play here and a sort of a fortuitous bounce. But that's what happens oftentimes on the power play. It's a block shot and it gets back onto Mangiapane's stick, and he makes no mistake. This is the guy who's the Flames are counting on for a lot this season.
Yeah, I think Mangiapane is a guy, for me at least, has always been underrated. Like, he's a guy I would have on my team any day of the week. He had his career year 2 years ago, right? Where did he score 40? I think he might have scored 40. We'll have to check that. It was close to 40, if it wasn't 40. But yeah, I think this hits Sandberg in front of the net, right, Dave? And what's unfortunate is the Jets had killed off the first penalty I think it was Nemesnik. Was it Nemesnikov who took the first penalty? Josh Morrissey took the penalty, puck over the glass.
Yeah,
my
it
favorite
was
penalty.
Samberg for interference was the first penalty.
Sorry, there you go, Samberg. So I wasn't close at all. It's the first game of the season, boys. So we're getting the rust. We're getting the rust out
Maybe
here.
we need to start doing post-game shows during the preseason so we can work on our game as well.
Yeah.
It's 35, by the way, to Ezzy. To answer your question, Mangiapane's
Yeah.
high was
Okay,
35.
not bad. Yeah, it was close. But yeah, it was unfortunate because I thought the kill before that on the Samberg penalty was good. I got the Josh Morrissey penalty right at least, right?
Did good.
Don't forget those puck over the glass penalties, but yeah, I mean, look, I don't think there's anything that anybody's going to fault Hellebuck on or the way the Jets were playing defense here. That's
No.
just a lucky bounce,
Yeah.
and the Flames get the first goal of the game, even though at that point the Jets were clearly the better team, and they continued to be. As Kyle Connor tied the game up, which we're obviously going to get into next.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. To your point there, as you talked about, that the Jets were the better of the two teams to start this game. They really controlled a lot of the first period until they ran into those penalty difficulties. I think the shots at a point in time, maybe about halfway through the first period, were 10-2 in the Jets' favor. And if it wasn't for Markstrom, and you can say this throughout the course of the game, if it wasn't for Markstrom early in that first period, the Jets probably would have opened the scoring and taken the lead, something they did not do at all in tonight's game, always playing catch-up. And the first time they caught up, it was Kyle Connor, 14:48 mark. This makes 6 straight years now that Kyle Connor has scored in the Jets season opening game. So that's a bit of an interesting record, interesting streak he's got going.
I wonder if that is a record.
It tied the NHL record.
Tied the
Okay, there
NHL
you go.
record.
Yeah.
We'll have to wait till
Come
next
on, 6 years? Like,
well, we're now going to have to wait till next October to find out if he's going to break the record. Hopefully, you don't wait with bated breath. You might be a little bit blue in the face at that point in time. But Kyle Connor gets his first of the year at the 14:48 mark of the first period, assisted Dylan Samberg and Neil Pionk. And it's ironic after Markstrom makes so many nice saves, Dave, that this one's a real stinker of a goal, but they count all the same.
Yeah, and look, it just goes to show you, we were talking about how many shots these guys were having in the first period, and Gabe Velarde had 7, I think it was, and Kyle Connor had 5, and that's one of the things you need is volume shooting, and Kyle Connor talked about it during the training camp, about his shooting percentage and how he wasn't really concerned in terms of getting that luck and having that opportunity. And Rick Bowness talked about it as well, and he basically said, like, one of the things you need is for the guy to be getting those chances, and that Kyle Connor gives himself time and space. So sure, it's not exactly what you're expecting from Markstrom. I mean, it's basically a 1-on-3 at that point. And
1-on-4, Dave.
Was it 1-on-4? Yeah. I mean, like it was a significant disparity, and
It was not a prime scoring opportunity.
Yes. No, not at all.
I
But
might have
it's-
stretched it a little bit there. Like
Yeah.
one on 3.5.
Yeah, I'm like,
so
I'm-
1-on-3.
I just kind of eyeballed it I side-eyed it there as I'm like, I don't know, I count 3 to my eye, but
There were 4 Flames back. I'm just looking at the replay.
I side-eye Ezzy all the time, so it's a real comfortable feeling.
anyways, the
man.
point is that Connor, gets it, and you can see it gives the Jets the lift they needed, and because they were, you take those 10 shots, and you're wanting that good feeling, and now you've got the good feeling, and it gets the Jets a little bit of momentum.
Yeah, it gives them a little bit of momentum, but it doesn't last long. As a sort of the story of this game, every time the Jets tied it up, the Flames were really, quickly to retake the lead, and they did so at the 17:50 mark of the first period. It's Mackenzie Weegar. He gets his first of the season. It's a point shot assist to Nikita Zadorov and Walker Duehr to make it 2-1 for the Flames late in the first period. As a lot of traffic in front of Connor Hellebuck, a bit of a seeing eye shot. You could sort of see a late reaction time on this one, given that he was trying to fight through some bodies to find the puck, but Weegar puts it in a good spot, and Hellebuck can't react.
Well, yeah, and it's like hockey's like that sometimes, right? Like this was a perfect example of a game in which it seemed like, everything Calgary was putting on net in the first period was going in. And you're right, there was traffic in front. Brendan Dillon, I forget who he was battling. I remember Dillon was in front of the net there. And yeah, it's a CNI shot from Weegar, and Weegar's a guy that is known for being probably more of a defensive defenseman.
Yeah.
But he can contribute offensively as well. And this is kind of like the most boring power play goal, and most common but most boring power play goal you're going to see, where you get some traffic.
Except
in
it was
front.
even strength.
Oh, I thought that one was a power play goal. Sorry, there was a lot of goals, shorthanded in power play in this game. But yeah, I mean that's a goal that you're not going to fault Hellebuck, and the defense in front of him, it was not the issue. It was just one of those shots that I don't think he even saw.
Yeah, I don't think he saw it either, or certainly only saw it towards the end of it at the very least. But it was 2-1 for Calgary at the end of 20 minutes regardless. Jets out shooting Calgary in that first period by a 15-8 margin, and they really did control a lot of the play, especially at 5-on-5. If you look at the Corsi 4 number, 60% to 40% in that first 20 minutes. So a lot to like for the Winnipeg Jets, except for what it says on the only scoreboard that matters, where it's a 2-1 lead for the Calgary Flames.
I just liked how they had the shot first mentality, right? That's what stood out to me. They were fast, and they were putting the puck on the net.
Yeah.
And it's a cliche, but I mean that's what you want to see. And clearly the Jets this year, they're going to be a better defensive team. I mean, addition by subtraction with Blake Wheeler alone, but when you're talking about Gabe Vilardi and Alex Iafallo, they're better defensive forwards, and that I think is part of the reason why early on in camp, early on in preseason, Gabe Vilardi was on the wing as opposed to centering the second line. Cole Perfetti, good defensive center on the second line, obviously with Nino Niederreiter, a guy who's a good, reliable defensive forward as well, right? So, yeah, that first period, aside from the result, the fact that the Jets were down a goal, I think that was almost as good as it can get, and that's how you draw it up in the dressing room before, right? Like, the Jets were fast. They were shooting the puck on net. They were rolling their lines, as we talked about. The fourth line was playing a little bit less as the game progressed.
Yeah.
The Jets were down a goal, and you're obviously going to see that fourth line less. But
right.
Yeah, that first line, I think, that's one of those.
But you saw them.
First
saw
period,
them
was what the coaches are going to be happy, even though the Jets were down a goal. Bonus and the coaching staff, I think we're really happy with the way the Jets started on the road, first game of the season, for sure.
I would agree with that. So 2-1 Calgary after 20 minutes. The Jets tie it up. The second time in the night that they do it. It's Alex Iafallo, his first as a member of the Winnipeg Jets. It comes out at the 11:19 mark of the second period. Assist to Dylan DeMello, assist to Adam Lowry. Good things happen when you go to the net, and it's a very nifty tip by the new Winnipeg Jets acquisition, Dave.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think Alex Iafallo is the kind of player that this team needs, someone who's willing to go to the net, because how many times have we said, why is there not someone in front?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he does. He's got a stick in the right spot, and he's able to deflect that puck in and over Markstrom, and as a result, you've got a tie game. So to me, Iafallo is the kind of guy who, he seems to be a good energy guy. He seems to be able to do a lot of different things, and that's what we're talking about, depth with this Jets club. That's exactly what they need. You need guys who can fill more than one role, especially with guys potentially coming in and out of the lineup. You need that opportunity for guys like a Iafallo who can do more than one thing. He's not a one-dimensional player, right? As he can PK, can be on the PB.
Is he a Swiss Army knife, or is that Nemesnikov? Or is that
good.
Niederreiter?
Niederreiter's the ultimate decider as to who, because of course of his Swiss nature, that he gets to decide who is the Swiss Army knife of the team. He's named Vlad Nemesnikov as the Swiss Army knife, so we'll have to see if he bestows that upon Alex Iafallo. But to me, Iafallo is the kind of guy who this Jets team needs. He's gritty. He provides that jump. He has good hands. So I like his addition to this team, and I think you liked what he did, and you liked what you saw. And then again, you needed that. You wanted those guys to get those good feelings right away. And I think that's going to happen with Alex Iafallo. So now suddenly you've got a 2-2 game, and again, the Jets are back in it.
I love that Spency's just right here. Like, this is the first time that I've ever met Spency in person. Obviously, I feel like we've known each other for like 20 years. But like, I'm not going to be able to go back to like doing the show at Dave's house and not having Spency within
he's
10
invited.
feet of me.
He's
like,
invited.
Yeah, like he's just making me happy and just like giving me good positive vibes. I love it.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention one thing quickly, if I can get serious here on this goal. I watched the replay. But I saw this live, but I wanted to watch it again to make sure. But like, if you go back, Appleton does a nice job of kind of getting the puck at the blue line, and then he gives a terrible pass to Lowry, and Lowry actually has to reach out.
Yeah.
And I just thought I'd mention that. Like, that could have easily been a dead play. And obviously, like, what everyone will remember about Iafallo's goal, Dave, to your point, is the beautiful tip.
Yeah.
But just wanted to give Lowry a shout out there because. Appleton spun around and it was not even close. Like, I think like Appleton was just trying to fire the puck into the corner, and DeMello, it's a nice shot on net. Good, he put it in a good position for Iafallo to tip it. But I just wanted to get that. I thought that was funny that Lowry had to reach basically like he was an outfielder, to put that puck down on the ice and get it back to DeMello for the point shot.
2-2 at this point in time, halfway through the game. And we're going to talk about the Flames' third goal. It was a shorthanded goal, but before we get into the goal, just a word I thought on the Jets' power play. I mean, even though it wasn't successful, it didn't actually deposit a goal behind
good,
Markstrom. And in fact, it was a -1 in that it gave up a shorthanded goal.
Right.
There were dangerous opportunities, and there was
sure.
some pretty good movement on that power play tonight. So I thought that, for a new look unit, were guys who, again, are probably, sort of feeling each other out at this point. I thought there was a lot to like on the Jets' power play tonight.
I would agree with that, and the thing is, we talked about a guy like Ehlers, who obviously is going to factor in big time this year on the power play. I mean, he was only practicing. He was not getting. And the thing is, you've talked about this so many times, Dave. Yes, nobody really cares about the preseason, but these guys still want to play in these preseason games, like a few of them, right?
Oh,
Like they don't need to play in all 6.
No.
And I thought, Ehlers was doing his thing out there, and obviously, I mean, the centerpiece of that first unit is going to be the first line, right? We're talking about obviously Scheifele, Connor, and Velarde, and Velarde had some good chances in tight. Scheifele had some good chances in tight. So I agree. I mean, this is some games you go 0 for 4 on the power play and your power play looks stinky.
Yeah.
This was not a stinky night on the power play. The Jets were getting chances.
It's a stinky night right where I'm sitting, but
That's a separate
Set
issue.
you up for that one.
Yeah, you walked right into that one. But to your point there, Ezzy, the 3-2 goal for the Calgary Flames, it's a shorthanded goal. Rasmus Andersson gets his first of the year, assist to Elias Lindholm. Andersson's the trailer on the play, and it's a great back check by Mark Scheifele to actually
$8.5
prevent...
million by back check.
Yeah,
right there.
yeah.
If Scheifele's doing that all year, his even strength defense is not going to be 1%.
It will be better than that. It was a great hustle to come back and break off what looked like was going to be a 2-on-1 opportunity, and he does so successfully, but the Jets then, it's still a scramble drill. I'm not blaming Scheifele on this one. It's more of an issue of Kyle Connor gets trapped in no man's land here. Nobody picks up the trailer in Rasmus Andersson, and he's able to walk into dangerous ice and snaps one past Connor Hellebuyck.
Not a great goal on Connor Hellebuyck, though. I mean,
I would agree.
I mean, that's from a fair distance, and you usually would make that stop. So, I mean, it's not a great goal on the netminder, who, you're expecting him to make that stop, especially at that point in the game. You're on the power play. And, yeah, I mean, you're right, Drew. It was a defensive lapse by Kyle Connor. Something that we've talked about and that they've talked about is that there's an understanding that you need to be, on top of those things and not be making those lapses, because this Jets club, although, maybe proving us wrong, but I don't anticipate that they're going to be a high-scoring team, maybe not even as high-scoring as they were last year. And again, it's going to be a committee thing. But one of the things they talked about was they don't want to give up as many goals. So one of those requirements is to ensure that I'm going to steal a Mendelism, your attention to detail.
You got to stop talking like Mendel. It just doesn't work for both of us.
Well, technically, it's just a phrase that I'm not going to suggest you've coined it. I'm just saying it's one you frequently use.
Fair enough.
But the attention to detail needs to be more significant in that regard, because again, it's a backbreaker. It's just when you've outplayed your opposition and you're giving up goals like that, it's so deflating for the team, and then you find yourself down 3-2.
Yeah, you do find yourself down 3-2 at that point in time, and it is, the Jets are still they're one of those games where you're constantly scratching and clawing. You're always trailing. It never seemed like the Jets were able to play really, except for the first 10 minutes of the game when it was 0-0 until Calgary opened it up. The Jets were always chasing the game a little bit, but to their credit, they didn't chase the game, and I thought they didn't become chickens without their heads on when they were trying to chase the game and trying to equalize the number of times that they had to try and do so throughout the course of the night.
Yeah, and I just want to mention, because I saw it in the chat just now from our friend B. Henderson, but the idea was that Scheifele was complaining that there was a high stick.
Right.
And there was clearly a high stick on the shot.
Yes.
But as our friend Joe from Winnipeg would point out, the reality is it's not reviewable.
That's right.
Now, as we've all discussed here at Boston Pizza Grant Park, the fact of the matter is you have 4 officials on the ice, and they're supposed to be watching the puck. At least 50% of them, you think, are probably supposed to be watching the puck. So you're wondering, if you're watching the puck and you're an official and you see the puck is way up there and he knocks it down, to me that would be a pretty, and again, like, you gave up the goal, so you still have to deal with that reality.
Right.
But the play should have been whistled dead.
It should have been.
That's all I'm saying. Again, like I said, it doesn't change the fact that the Jets didn't play it well.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those little factors that you're sitting there going, well, wait a second, what do you have all these officials on the ice for? if they're not seeing that call.
And so for the people who are wondering why Rick Bowness didn't challenge that play, it's
Yeah,
not
it's not
challengeable. You can only challenge that if the high stick had occurred in the offensive zone.
Right.
But because it happened in the flame zone, many feet away from the Jets' goal, it is not a challengeable play by Rick Bowness. I agree with you that the officials probably missed one there, but ultimately there's a lot of other problems that happen there.
And I'm not ever going to be defending the officials when they miss a call, but it wasn't completely obvious. You know what I mean? Like it was a high stick, but they missed it.
Yeah.
That was one of those ones that, and we've talked about this before, right? Like the officials always talk about review the game afterwards, and that's going to be one where they're going to say, yeah, we missed that call. And it turned out that the Jets tied it up, so we probably, if that turned out to be the winning goal, we probably would be talking about it more, the next day or whatever, Dave.
Yeah.
But Scheifele tied up the game, so obviously, that turned out not to be the game-winning goal. But yeah, it's as a Jets fan, that's demoralizing. But we're going to see that many more times throughout. It's only game one of the season, guys. There's going to be lots of calls that the refs missed throughout the course.
For
of the
sure,
game.
I just think
we can't rip our hair out of our head over the
especially
ref.
you, Joe.
Yeah, I know. Well, out of my mustache, I can rip it out of my face.
Well, Laura might be doing that tomorrow.
That's true, exactly. She'll do that on her own when she gets back into town.
I mean, this is icy after hours.
Yeah,
so
we
I
can
guess
say whatever we want.
can go there.
3-2 after 40 minutes, and Ezzy, you mentioned that Mark Scheifele tied the game for the Winnipeg Jets.
Okay,
That
I want to
leads
spend some time on this
well,
one.
hang on, that leads us seamlessly.
Roof Daddy there.
Hang on.
The Seagram shot of the game.
I like that, boys.
There you go.
I knew you'd like
Fancy new bumpers.
it. I knew you'd like that.
A little, we opened up the piggy bank a little bit and
Nice.
spent
By
a
the
little
way-
money in the off season.
Shout out Braden Music for
Shout
our
out to
editing.
Braden.
He's done the intros. We'll have a new intro for the Saturday show. He's done all of our graphics during the show. So shout out to Braden. He's been awesome to deal with, and he's taking this show, I hope, to the next level a little bit.
No, to take the show to the next level, they need to get rid of the three of us.
Well, that's the next level.
okay. That's the next
I
level.
think Spency needs his own bumper. That's the next one we got to do.
But Scheifele, you mentioned it, so that was the Seagram shot of the game, the Mark Scheifele goal. It comes at the 14-18 mark of the third period. Sort of a bit of a sleepy third period up until that point in time, and then Scheifele comes in, just an absolute snipe here, showing off why he has that 40-goal season, that he had last year. He goes short side in just a wicked shot to beat Jacob Markstrom, assist to Josh Morrissey, his first of the season, and it's tied up with just over 5 minutes to play in the third period.
Yeah, and you mentioned short side. The thing, like watching that game live, watching that goal live, what stood out to me is like Jacob Markstrom is a big goalie, right? Like so Hellebuck's a big goalie too. I mean, I mean it's subjective now, or pardon me, relative now, because most goalies are 6'2", 6'3", 6'4". But what was impressive to me about that is like it's not like there was a ton of room short side on Markstrom, right?
No.
But Scheifele knew exactly where he needed to go, and that looked like an $8.5 million goal to me, guys.
That was only a $6 million goal this year. Next year, that's
okay.
an $8.5 million
But I mean,
goal.
wow, like what? I mean, off the post and in. I mean, that was incredible, right? Like, I mean, that's what Mark Scheifele does best, right?
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate that the Flames ended up going ahead not that long after. What was it, a minute or two after, right? But I mean, that was just. And the thing is, like Scheifele, like he had time there. Like my dad used to say, like he had enough time to make a sandwich. That's what he would always say when a guy was that alone in front of the net, right? Like, but what a beautiful shot! Like that's the type of goal that you just want to watch. Again and again, because that's just a goal scorer's goal.
That's exactly what it was. You took the words right out of my mouth there. Proverbial goal scorer's goal. And I thought at that point in time, after the Jets had finally, for the third time in tonight's game, had crawled all the way back to tie it up, I thought that was going to be the goal that probably sent this game into overtime. Unfortunately for the Winnipeg Jets and those who cheer for the Winnipeg Jets, that was not the case. Elias Lindholm gets his first of the year with 92 seconds to play at the 18:28 mark. It's his first assist to Mangiapane, and Huberdeau gets on the board as well. And it's a beautiful pass from Mangiapane to Lindholm, catches Hellebuck going the wrong way. Can't blame Hellebuck on this one, but
Blame his defense, though.
Well, that's where I was going to say. You got to start there. It's just an unnecessary decision
by Nate
Schmidt
Yeah. No, that
to
was
ice
not
the
good.
puck that leads to the offensive zone face-off that leads to ultimately the goal that is the game-winning goal on this one. And it was a rough night for Nate Schmidt.
Yep.
And it was a rough night for Neil Pionk. And those are the two guys that the Jets are relying on significantly to bounce back if they want to solidify their defense. We know that, we've talked about it on the entirety of this post-game show, the entirety of the offseason, the defense. The offense has been upgraded, especially defensively, but tonight the defense certainly still caused some gray hairs, I would say, in the offices of True North Sports and Entertainment.
No, I mean, like, look, you can't say it any other way. I mean, like, Nate Schmidt went for a walk, and it was the wrong way to go because, you leave a man in front, and then as a result, I mean, it's a beautiful pass by Mangiapane, but it's just a needless chase by Nate Schmidt. And so, unfortunately for the Jets, it is a backbreaker because, I mean, and we saw it too many times throughout the course of the evening where, you get that momentum, and then it's just, the breath is just taken away from you. So, I mean, it's an unfortunate, and look, it's not all on Nate Schmidt. I mean, there are other guys who had breakdowns in coverage, right, Ezzy? But to me, Schmidt chasing behind the net the way he did, leaving the front wide open.
Well, and then you had Brendan Dillon high, right? So Rasmus Kupari is the player back who is behind Lindholm. Like, he doesn't have position on Lindholm.
That's
and you're right. I mean, that play, look, Mangiapane, we talked about it, like, former 35-goal scorer. Like, he's a really talented player. This Flames team is, not as, let's say, maybe top-heavy as they once were, even though Jonathan Huberdeau a couple years ago had 115 points or whatever it was, right? And then he fell down to 50 or 60 or whatever it was. But yeah, I mean, that's just not good defensive coverage. And look, do you want to chalk this up to, it's the first game of the season? I mean, obviously the Jets aren't going to use that as an excuse. And, they're going to look at these, and we know that they'll watch the video. But yeah, it wasn't the strongest game from Nate Schmidt, even though I don't like a lot of criticism of my boy Schmitty. But it wasn't. It was a pretty bad play, and it's because the fact that, as Drew mentioned, this was a game, and it's tough when you're the better team. And anybody who was watching, I mean, Remus tweeted out the heat map. Like, I mean, the Jets any metric you want to use, the Jets were the better team. They were out shooting the Flames pretty badly after the first couple periods.
Yeah.
And that's hard. It's demoralizing when you fight all game and then you finally tie it up, Scheifele's goal, and then a couple minutes later, Elias Lindholm. And look, if Calgary can find a way, I mean, Lindholm is another underrated player. Like, as far as I'm concerned, like we talked about Rasmus Anderson's goal, Dave, that was all Elias Lindholm, really, right?
No, I know.
Like, obviously Rasmus Anderson's the trailer and he finishes it off. But Lindholm is, as far as I'm concerned, is at the very least is a top 15 center in the league.
Well, and I just want to quickly jump in on the Schmidt thing because again, we're not here to be the Nate Schmidt defenders, but the one thing that I'll qualify is that he was dealing with injury throughout the training camp and didn't get the game reps that the other guys did. Neil Pionk.
There's an argument to be made that if Ville Heinola doesn't fracture his ankle in that last preseason game, he's in the lineup over Nate Schmidt.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with you, Drew. I think that there's a very good chance of that based on how Heinola played throughout the course of the training camp, which we talked about on Saturday's show, of course. But I think ultimately you just have to focus on the players that are there. And again, I think Nate Schmidt, the only thing I would note, just having been at all the training camp days, 90% of them, was the fact that he just wasn't practicing and playing in games to the same degree as everybody else because he was dealing with an injury. Now, having said that, if you're going to be playing in a game, then the likelihood is that you're healthy enough to play, and you have to take responsibility for your actions. I'm just saying that, unlike Pionk, Schmidt didn't have the same number of game reps and practices as he did.
I think that's a valid point that you make. That's not necessarily the reason the Jets lost, but not having those reps eventually could catch up to you and everything else.
Look, training camp's important. I mean, I know we sometimes joke about it's not a significant thing, but it actually is important for guys.
Well, training camp's more important than the preseason games, I would argue, just in terms of getting your legs underneath you, getting your feel for the puck.
Yeah.
The 60 minutes of those preseason games ultimately
Again,
are relatively meaningless, but being on the ice with your teammates
exactly
matters more.
My only counter to that, having spoken to some players, and again, I did an interview with Daniel Torgerson, the 2020 second rounder of the Jets this summer, and as part of the IC Summer Series, And so when he
Really looking forward to the IC Fall series.
no offense, that's just you and Spency at
in the hot tub. That's just them in the hot tub together.
Walking through a cornfield.
No, that's winter. That's winter when we do the hot tub. That's the New Year's Eve show.
What's
The
that?
New Year's Eve show's in the middle of the afternoon though this year. It's not even a night game.
What was that? What's that thing called with that Halloween thing out in?
Heebie-jeebies?
Heebie-jeebies. Yeah, Spency and Hezzy are going to heebie-jeebies later.
It's funny because Drew was giving some of the servers here heebie-jeebies.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. They're like, sir, please stop talking to us. Anyway, so the point is that I actually completely lost my train of thought, actually. I can't even remember where I was going with that. So, Drew, maybe take control of it.
We were talking about preseason.
No, I was going to say
it is 12:30 in the morning on a Wednesday, so Thursday.
But I forgot to tell you, we still have another hour to break down Scheifele and Hellebuck contracts extensions. So, no, but the one thing I was going to say is that when I spoke to Daniel Torgerson, he talked about how important those preseason games are. So I think for the young guys, we tend to just, media, sometimes fans, will look at that and be like, who cares? But he talked about how important it was in terms of comfort and getting acclimatized to playing here in North America. So that's the only thing I would say, but I agree. I do tend to agree. I'm glad they've reduced it from like 8 to 6, and I'm sure I'd be fine with 5 because sometimes you see this and it's like sending like lambs to slaughter. You see these AHL lineups or ECHL lineups against NHL, and you're like, well, what's the point?
Yeah,
that was my little segue.
Okay, I'm glad glad you feel better about that now. Okay, good.
I really just wanted to mention the IC Summer Series. That's what it was all about.
I assumed as such. Mangiapane finishes off the scoring. It was a 3-point night for him into the empty net.
Big night for people that had Mangiapane in hockey pools.
Yes, or people that like bread.
Yes.
Yeah, either way. So in any event, good for him and good for the Calgary Flames. Winners tonight, 5-3 over the Winnipeg Jets. We're live here at Boston Pizza on Taylor Avenue. We're going to be doing this all season long. This is just Game 1 of our live on location games. Stay
Pierogi
tuned.
Pizza 1, Drew.
We know you're keeping track of that. More information about the next night that will be out here at Boston Pizza will come, of course, in the next couple of weeks as we finalize everything. But we're having a great time here tonight for Game 1 of 82 of the Winnipeg Jets season and Game 1 of 82 of the Illegal Curve post-game show. As we mentioned, there's a lot of Jets news to get to, including the very surprising Hellebuck and Mark Scheifele contract extensions. So we'll take a break and we'll come back on the other side of the break, talk about that, some more notes from tonight's game, anything else of relevance that we comes across our wire here at Boston Pizza, wherever you may be joining us from as well. Those of you who are in the audience, make some noise. We want to hear from you. There you go. There you go. The crowd is lively. We're live. It's the Illegal Curve post-game show.
Your coworkers love you because you always make them laugh. You're the life of the party with stories that have them rolling on the floor. Or maybe you're just the quiet one in the corner with the one-liners that just slay. Do you have what it takes to become Winnipeg's funniest person with a day job? Try your luck. Hit the stage at Rumors Comedy Club, and you could be walking away with $1,000 cash. Winnipeg's funniest person with a day job. Presented by Rumors. For all the details, head to rumorscomedyclub.com.
So you're a pizza person, you married a wing person, but somehow your kids are salad people. You can't pick your fam, but you can pick your BP meal deal, starting from $18.99 for takeout or delivery at bostonpizza.com.
The game can change just like that. Accidents happen when you aren't protected. So now what? Getting to your injury quickly can make all the difference. Help prevent them from being game changers with Linden Market Dental Center. Bonding, crowns, bridges, and dental implants. State-of-the-art treatments are available to help you get back in the game. To learn more, visit lindenmarketdentalcenter.com. Creating smiles for life.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rollies Transfer Moving and Storage, online at rollies.com.
Boston Pizza harnessed Fanalytics to test if the game is better at home or at Boston Pizza. The results are irrefutable. Catch the game at Boston Pizza, powered by Fanalytics.
Are you dreaming of your very own backyard rink this winter, but dreading the work involved? Well, stress no longer, because the Rink Guys are here to make it happen. The Rink Guys are Winnipeg's first outdoor skating rink installation and rink maintenance service. The Rink Guys offer free site evaluations and different rink construction options. Plus, they use a custom-sized liner to prevent any damage to your lawn. Lighting packages are also available to help illuminate your rink during those long, dark winter nights. To get your rink started today, visit therinkguys.com. For 3 generations and over 80 years, Tough Duck has been making apparel that works and plays as hard as the people who wear it. From jackets to work boots and everything in between, Tough Duck's clothing can handle the harshest environments, even the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Work to live, live to play. Visit toughduck.com. Producer Tim, I think it might be cutting in and out a little bit. I don't know if you guys can hear me.
That's good. We don't need to hear you.
That's fair enough. I can accept that entirely. In any event, we're back live here at Boston Pizza on Taylor Avenue for the Illegal Curve post-game show. Reminder that after us, I think starting at some time where Sean Reynolds, poor guy, is in the Eastern time zone tonight. So the Kenny and Rennie post-game show will begin sometime around 3 a.m. Eastern, I believe. So if you...
That's really after hours.
That's really... Yeah. If you're wondering why Sean has bags under his eyes next time he's on your television, there is your answer right there. The poor man is up very, very late, bringing you some additional Jets coverage after we wrap it up tonight here with the Illegal Curve post-game show. But before we do that, of course, the stunner, the Thanksgiving Monday stunner. I was on a airplane, and Ezzy's going to give me the stunner as a result. I was on an airplane on Monday, and I don't know. I don't normally pay for any sort of messaging or internet service when I'm on the plane, but for whatever reason, this time I decided I'd pay for it, and it was...
Someone's doing well.
It cost me $3, Ezra, so even you could scrape that together under your couch cushions. But so I'm sitting on the plane. We're flying home from Atlanta, and I don't know why push notifications work on a plane, but they did. And all of a sudden, I get
because you paid the $3.
Yeah,
that's why.
And all of a sudden, I get a notification that the Jets have re-signed both Connor Hellebuyck and Mark Scheifele to those lengthy contract extensions, and that was certainly a whoa moment as I was going up and talking to some of my friends on that plane, and the word started filtering up and down the aisles, and there was a palpable excitement.
There's no question. Hold on. Sorry, Drew, to interrupt. There's no question Drew went to the front of the plane, grabbed the little mic. Everybody, I've got to... ladies and gentlemen, I have an announcement. I am Drew Mindell of Illegal Curve Hockey, and I would like to let you know that the Jets have made a major signing.
That did not happen, but the thought crossed my mind to see if the nice people on WestJet would let me do that. But no, I decided not to do that.
Sir, what are you doing in the cockpit?
They let me nowhere near the cockpit, I can assure you.
You're absolutely right, though. I mean, there was not one person, not one single person, except maybe Chevy, who saw that coming, right? And, we talked about this, just a couple of weeks ago, right, Dave? Mm-hmm. We were basically saying, let's just let's wait and see how this season goes.
Yeah.
And first off, not only did nobody expect this, nobody expected it to be identical deals. Mm-hmm. It was like a double whammy, right? Because everybody's, whether, whatever you were doing, if you were getting ready to have a Thanksgiving dinner or whatever, everyone was kind of like, okay, the Jets season starts in a couple days, I'm going to, it was kind of like status quo, right? And, you're watching it, Joshy right there. How's it going, man? Nobody was expecting it. And the fact that it was 7-year identical deals, I think, surprised a lot of people.
Yeah.
Right? And, if you want to get into it, and we can break down the term and everything like that, but I think
we'll break it down in more detail on
show.
Saturday morning because it's like I said, 20 to 2. It's 20 to 1 right now.
Sure, it's 20 to 1. We're not going to spend 15 minutes on this here. We got to get into the tough duck hardest hitting comment as well. But look, this is just great news for Jets fans. Like that's what it ultimately comes down to, right? Like you're able to keep your number one goaltender and your number one center, and you've locked them up for 7 years. And we didn't see it coming, but I mean, that's sports, that's life, right, Dave? Like, expect the unexpected. I was talking to Spency about it. Like, everybody kind of thought, well, maybe the Jets will get one of these guys signed, but that's not going to happen until closer to the trade deadline, right? Well, it turns out that Chevy was negotiating with Scheifele and Hellebuck's agents. And, if you ask me, it's pretty cool that they signed the identical contracts. Like, I have, my own issues with Scheifele as a player, but at the end of the day, he's not a player that you can easily replace. No. So I think both of those contracts I'm completely fine with. And, even Hellebuck himself was asked, could you have gotten more money on the open market? Doesn't matter. I mean, they signed their contracts. So even if you could get another $500,000, Dave, or another $1 million, the reality is these guys, the most important thing is these guys decided to stay in Winnipeg long term. And that's just awesome for Jets fans, regardless of, if you think these guys were signed to too many years.
Well, first of all, okay, like it's the reality of sports. I mean, look, when Blake Wheeler signed his deal, I mean, first of all, it looked fantastic because he had phenomenal years right after. But more importantly, if the Jets in 17-18 beat Vegas and then defeat Washington, and you win a Stanley Cup, and then the last 2 years of Wheeler's deal look like crap, who cares? And so the reality is, first of all, these salaries aren't even significant in the sense that salary cap's going up. Well, so you're not really super concerned from a franchise perspective because, I mean, this is really just an extra $4.5-5 million over what these guys are making right now.
Well, that was my point that I was talking to people about. So sure, the contracts might not look good 6 years from now. But 6 years from now, if the NHL salary cap is $100 million per team, and it's not inconceivable that it is, do you really care that you're paying Mark Scheifele 8% of that when he's really only worth 4.5% of that? I mean, that's the beauty of the cap. As long as the cap goes up, these contracts, they might not look great, but they're not going to be so unpalatable that it impacts you dramatically otherwise.
Yeah, and again, that was one of the points that I absolutely agree and was thinking about, Drew. And the other one was also what it means for the city of Winnipeg. And don't think that this doesn't factor in that, you have a guy like Mark Scheifele who drafted the first overall as he was there in St. Paul at the draft in 2011. And the fact of the matter is he's the first ever draft pick. He'll have most likely spent his entire career in Winnipeg, wearing a Jets jersey. And I jokingly, after this news came out, said, it looked like Paul Maurice's comments about this guy getting a statue will come true because most likely, I mean, again, if he finishes his career here, and I do wonder how much the Dale Hawerchuk not finishing his career in Winnipeg and being traded to Buffalo, that factors in the fracturing of that relationship in Winnipeg, though obviously the 1.0, but how much that impacted Mark Chipman and the brain trust and obviously want to keep him. As he said, you don't just replace 42-goal scorers like that, and the Jets don't have that center depth because the centers right now in the system, we're not going to do a Manuk Moose minute right now, but those guys are young. And so that to me is the biggest problem, is that you're not going to have that. So you retain a guy, but it's also what it means for the city of Winnipeg. And to me, that is the significance that you have two homegrown guys, the back-to-back, the 2011 draft, the 2012 draft, guys that you have drafted and developed. Obviously, Scheifele never went through the Moose. Hellebuck, obviously, St. John's, and also Manitoba, became your guy, Vezina. So to me, you have that security, and also what it does is it insulates the Dominic DiVincentis or Thomas Miliches, whichever one of those guys are, but those guys are years away. Now you don't have to worry about it. You can let those guys, and now you have a kind of a succession plan. For me, that's the way, if you're looking at it from a Jets perspective, so you got that opportunity to have that succession. But again, like I said, I think from a Winnipeg perspective, it shows, and I tweeted about this at the time, and this will be my last point, but it just goes to show you that for all that Winnipeg gets maligned, and it does, and it's easy to do, right? But the fact of the matter is that they've developed the talent, and the talent stays. And whether it's, Nikolai Ehlers signing a 7-year contract from Denmark, Kyle Connor, or Blake Wheeler, Minnesota, Michigan signing their and Blake Wheeler signed 2. You've got Connor Hellebuck signing. That all these guys have committed. Josh Morrissey, Adam Lowry, everybody's committed to the city. So they've come here, and these guys are committing to Manitoba, and I think that's significant.
Much more on the contract extensions for both Scheifele and Hellebuck coming up Saturday morning, 9 a.m. on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. So you can all put that into your calendars right now. Saturday, 9 a.m. Be sure you're subscribing to our YouTube channel. Be sure you're smashing the like button. And, of course, the post-game show after the game on Saturday. Afternoon matinee game. So the post-game show, I think, somewhere around 5:30, give or take a couple minutes on either side of that. So you can look forward to that on Saturday afternoon after the Saturday morning Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Before we wrap up tonight's show, we have, of course, the one thing we do after each and every broadcast.
The Tough Duck hardest hitting comment.
We took away the access from Mr. Ginsburg tonight, so Dave, do you have the Tough Duck hardest hitting comment? I believe we've got a couple comments that are been starred in our selective chat, and you can choose one of those if you wish
I will
to
go with the one I will go with the one I chose, which is Baby Yoda.
Baby Yoda.
Baby Yoda says, frustrating loss sometimes. The better team doesn't always win with a good game. So I think that's a fair comment.
Yeah, but Dave, now you have to read that comment in Yoda voice.
and backwards. Sorry, I've already done my Mindell voice.
Drew, host me like.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've already done a Mindell voice. I don't think I can do a Baby Yoda.
There you go. Baby Yoda is the winner of the Tough Duck hardest hitting comment, game 1 of 82. So Baby Yoda, congratulations. Please send Ezzy an email, ezra@illegalcurve.com, or slide into his DMs at ICEzzyG, and we'll hook you up with a Tough Duck toque, courtesy of our friends at Tough Duck. They're proud sponsors of the post-game show, continued back sponsors, and we appreciate their sponsorship. We appreciate the sponsorship of all of our long-time and new sponsors. Welcome to the Rink Guys who are joining us this year as sponsors here on the post-game show. I hope you enjoyed the ad of theirs that played earlier tonight. And, of course, we're live here at Boston Pizza on Taylor Avenue. A huge thanks to the team at Boston Pizza for their increased support of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show and the Illegal Curve post-game show. We'll be here tonight, and we'll be here at various times throughout the course of the season. So stay tuned to all of our broadcasts and, of course, all of our social medias. We'd love to see you back here for the next time we do a live on-location broadcast after a Winnipeg Jets game. So we're having a ton of fun here on this, what is now Thursday morning. So let's wrap it up, and we'll say a big thank you to all of our sponsors, our friends at Betway. They're, of course, the official title sponsor of the post-game show. Our friends at Seagram's, they sponsor the shot of the game. Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Linden Market Dental Center, Zappia Group Realty, Betway, as I mentioned, Tough Duck, Boston Pizza, Seagram's, and Rolly's Transfer support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey. Go ahead.
I just wanted to mention, because we do have something to give away, so hold on one second.
Put on your antlers. It's time for the Minuk Moose Minute on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
I really just wanted to play the graphic and show all of the fun graphics we have. I saw Ezzy going, Minuk. I'm not standing for a Minuk Moose Minute, which is going to be 10.
Dave, you can, no, that's Drew. Anytime you want, you can put in the Minuk Moose Minute. I don't care. You have free reign as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, so let me tell you about training camp today. No, but I just wanted to throw in quickly that we will have Moose tickets for the entirety of the Moose 23-24 season. It is going to be a fun one. Tons of veterans to insulate all the young prospects, the Lamberts, the Luciuses, the Zhilkins, the Chiprikovs. So this is going to be a real fun Moose team to watch this season, and we will have games, including for the home opener, which is on Friday night at 7 o'clock. So if you want to go to that game for tickets in the IC zone, send me an email, dave@illegalcurve.com, and I will hook you up with some Moose tickets.
There you go. Something to do on Friday night. Email dave@illegalcurve.com for tickets in the Illegal Curve zone for Friday night's Moose season opener.
Against, by the way, the Calgary Wranglers.
Against the Calgary Wranglers.
So if you want to see Tyrell Bauer and Martin Pospisil, what was it? No. Pospisil. Then, well, you might see a rematch on Friday.
There you go. Thank you for everybody who joined us live here at Boston Pizza on Taylor Avenue. Thank you to everyone who joined us live on our...
And thank you to Timmy. I mean,
well, you know, producer Timmy's the man.
I'm seeing Tim so much lately, like, it's the best. Yes.
No question. If it wasn't for Timmy, this doesn't happen. Big thanks to all of you for joining us. We'll be back Saturday, 9 a.m. for the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Until then, we wish you good night and good luck. And thanks for joining us for the Illegal Curve post-game show.